guys, and welcome back to another K Crochets tutorial. Today you're going to learn how to crochet the Cable Trapper Beanie. This video tutorial is only for size baby, but the PDF includes instructions for 6 sizes. There's baby, toddler, child, teen, adult, and large adult, so everyone in the family can have one. You'll find the link to that PDF down below in the description. Every inch of this beanie is covered in cables. Just check it out, check it out. It's crocheted from the top down in joined rounds, and then the ear flaps are crocheted in rows. Before we begin, if you could like and subscribe, that would be awesome. Now let's go ahead and see what you're gonna need to get started. Okay, to make the Cable Trapper Beanie, you're going to need some DK weight yarn. I am personally using Sweet Delight by Baby Bee. You can find this at your local Hobby Lobby. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, a blunt threading needle, a 4mm crochet hook, and a tape measure. Now that we have everything we need, let's go ahead and get started. To begin, grab your hook and your yarn and start off by making a magic circle. If you do not know how to make a magic circle or the basics of crochet, I highly recommend clicking the top right link, learning those, and then coming back. You're then going to chain 2 tightly. This will never count as a stitch in this pattern. You will then place 12 double crochets around the magic circle. And 12. Once you have done that, you're going to want to pull your tail to your magic circle tight. That way there's no hole at the top. You're then going to slip stitch into the very first stitch, remembering to skip that chain 2. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 1. All right, for round 2, you're going to start by chaining 2. Again, always pulling those beginning chains tight. You're then going to place 2 front post double crochets around each double crochet on the previous round. When working your very first front post double crochet, I highly recommend working around the chain 2 and the double crochet post. That way your beanie looks a little more seamless. Okay, so to begin, you're going to yarn over. Going from right to left, place your hook under the chain 2 and the first double crochet post like so. You're then going to yarn over, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops. Yarn over again, pull through 2 loops. And yarn over again, pull through 2 loops. You have just made your first front post double crochet. Now we need to make the next front post double crochet around the same post. So go ahead and work your second front post double crochet around the same post below, creating an increase. And you're going to repeat that increase around each post stitch all the way around. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 2. Coming up at the end of round 2, I'm placing my last increase in that last post stitch right there. And then it says to slip stitch into the very first stitch, making sure to skip that chain 2. All right, this is what your work should look like at the end of round 2. Now we're ready for round 3. You're going to start by chaining 2, and the repeat around is going to be front post double crochet, 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and place 1 front post double crochet around the chain 2 and the first post stitch. And then place 2 front post double crochets around the next post. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. Again, 1 front post double crochet, 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 3. You should be ending round 3 with 2 front post double crochets, and then you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 3. All right, round 4, you are going to begin again by chaining 2 and place 1 front post double crochet around the chain 2 and first post. Do the same thing for the next post, so just 1 front post double crochet around the next post. You're then going to place 2 front post double crochets around the next post to make an increase. And that is the repeat around. Front post double crochet, 2 front post double crochets. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you at the end of round 4. You should be ending the round with an increase. You're then going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and we are officially going to start turning our work. But before we do, let me show you how your work should be looking. As you can see, it looks really smooth on the right side and then really funky on the back. That is normal. All right, let's move on to round 5, but before we do, make sure you turn your work. Okay, this round is super easy. You're simply going to chain 1 and place 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of round 5. Coming up at the end of round 5, I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch, and I'm going to turn. And the note before the next round is you will now wrap every front post stitch around a front post stitch 2 rounds down, since there's now a single crochet round between them. All right, so round 6, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to single crochet and front post double crochet in the first stitch. But before I show you that, I want to go over something that I kind of just didn't know for the longest time. When you turn your work in the round, you don't have to squeeze your hook into that tiny little area where that chain space is. Instead, you're going to be placing your last stitch on the other side of that chain 1 space. It's much easier to work into. Okay, so let's move on. So for round 6, you are going to start with a single crochet, and then front post double crochet around the next 4 posts. And you're going to want to start that first front post double crochet around that beginning chain 2 and the first post. You're then only going to skip 3 stitches behind those 4 front post stitches because it counts as an increase. And that is the repeat around, so go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of round 6. Coming up at the end of round 6, I am finishing with 4 front post double crochets with only 3 stitches skipped behind them, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 6. You're going to start seeing the separation of those cables. All right, on to round 7. You're going to start by chaining 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of round 7. Coming up at the end of round 7, I'm going to finish this round by slip stitching into the first stitch. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 7. Round 8 is going to probably be the trickiest round, but once you get the hang of this crisscross stitch, I know you're going to fly through this. So just bear with me, we'll go over it really slow. You're going to start this round by chaining 1 and single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Okay, now it says to crisscross. You can tell where we've started separating the cables and how there's sections of 4. Focus on those 4 posts straight below where we are. To begin the crisscross, you're going to yarn over 2 times to prepare for the first front post treble crochet. You're then going to count over 3 posts. We're going to be working around that one. Go ahead and place your hook from right to left under that 3rd post. Yarn over, pull up a loop. You now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, first one down, 3 more to go. Let's move on to the second one. Go ahead and yarn over 2 times, and going from right to left, place your hook around that 4th post. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You are now halfway done with the crisscross. You're then going to work a front post treble crochet around the 1st post. So go ahead and prepare your hook for that front post treble crochet. And going from right to left, go around the 1st post. Okay guys, only 1 more to go. You're going to be placing your last front post treble crochet right there around the 2nd of the 4 posts. And that's it, easy peasy, right? No, okay, this is actually really complicated. I remember the first time I did this and I was like, oh, like I was mind blown and I was kind of frustrated. Front post treble crochets take a lot of time and practice to get used to, definitely when you're crisscrossing them. So just take your time, and this can be a good practice round. Now we just have to make sure to only skip 3 stitches behind the crisscross because we want it to count as an increase. And that's the repeat around. You're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then crisscross, making sure to only skip 3 stitches behind. If you need help doing the crisscross again, I highly recommend just rewinding and rewatching that. But just a quick reminder, you're going to front post treble crochet around the 3rd, 4th, 1st, then 2nd. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around and I will meet you at the end of round 8. All right, coming up at the end of round 8, I am finishing the round with a crisscross, and then I'll be slip stitching into the 1st stitch. And this is what your work should look like at the end of round 8. This is when it gets a little bit more exciting because you can really start seeing those twisting cables start emerging from the crown. So let's continue. We need to turn our work and then it says to move on to the repeat rounds. So round A, you are simply going to chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that and I'll meet you at the end of round A. Coming up at the end of round A, I am simply going to slip stitch into the 1st stitch and turn my work. Round B, I'm going to chain 1 and place 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. I'm then going to front post double crochet around the next 4 posts. And this is the first time you'll be doing that after a crisscross. So you're just going to be working that first front post double crochet around that front post treble crochet that's underneath, right there. And then you're going to go under and around the 2nd front post treble crochet. This one is a little bit tricky to find, but it's just hiding under those front post treble crochets right there. You mainly just want to make sure that you are only going around the post and not picking up any extra loops from the other front post treble crochets. You're then going to place the 3rd front post treble crochet around the 3rd front post treble crochet and the same with the 4th. Those last 2 are much easier to find and wrap your hook around. And that is the repeat around. Just make sure that you skip 4 stitches behind those 4 front post stitches since we're no longer increasing. So go ahead and repeat that all the way around and I'll meet you at the end of round B. Coming up at the end of round B, I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch to finish the round. And this is what your work should look like so far. You can see it's going to start curling up because we're no longer increasing, but yeah, there's the twisting cables. Alrighty, round C. Let's go ahead and turn our work. You're going to chain 1 and place 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end of round C. Coming up at the end of round C, I'm going to finish the round by slip stitching into the first stitch and turning. Round D, we are going to start by chaining 1, and the repeat around is single crochet, crisscross. And again, to crisscross, you're going to front post treble crochet in the third post, front post treble crochet around the fourth post, front post treble crochet back around the first post, and then finishing it off by front post treble crocheting around the second post. Remember to skip 4 stitches behind this crisscross because we're not increasing, and that's the repeat. So go ahead and work that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of round D. I'm finishing round D with a crisscross, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the first stitch. And those are the repeat rounds. There's a total of 4, and you're going to repeat rounds A through D, ending with a round B repeat until the beanie from the crown to the current round measures approximately 6 inches. So go ahead, pause the video, work those rounds, and hit play when you're ready for the next set of instructions. I'm coming up at the end of a round B repeat. For this tutorial, I did not go the length that you're supposed to, so don't mind that my beanie is super short and not 6 inches. So just ignore that. I am ending on the right round. And this is the point where you get to decide if you want to make a traditional beanie or a trapper style beanie. Pretty much the trapper style has ear flaps. And I'm gonna obviously show you guys how to do that, but if you wanted the traditional beanie, you're simply going to repeat round A with tighter tension or a half hook size smaller. You're then going to finish off and weave in all your ends. But I'm sure most of you want the ear flaps, so let's go ahead and get started on those. The instructions say do not turn on the last round. Instead, you're going to slip stitch across the next 2 stitches and then turn your work. All right, we will now be working in rows instead of rounds. And for row 1, you're going to start by chaining 1. It then says to single crochet 2 together. And before you do that, I want you to make sure that you're starting it in the correct stitch. So make sure that you're working in the stitch that you chained 1 in. You don't know how many times I started in the stitch next to it and had to frog because I didn't understand why my cables didn't line up. So definitely make sure that you start in the right stitch. Okay, back to the single crochet 2 together. You're going to place your hook in the stitch that we just talked about, yarn over, pull up a loop, place your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all loops on your hook. It then says that you're going to single crochet in the next 12 stitches. $11 and $12. You're then going to single crochet 2 together again and turn your work. Row 2, you're going to chain 1, and the repeat across is single crochet, crisscross. So go ahead and repeat that across until 2 stitches remain. I'm finishing my second crisscross, and after I skip the 4 stitches behind it, I only have 2 stitches left, and I'm going to finish this row by single crocheting in the last 2 stitches. I'm then going to turn my work, and for row 3, you're simply going to chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch across. I'm then going to turn my work, and for row 4, I'm going to chain 1, and the repeat is single crochet, front post, double crochet around the next 4 posts. So repeat that across until 2 stitches remain. All right, I'm going to place 1 single crochet in the last 2 stitches and turn my work. Row 5, I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet in each stitch across. At the end of row 5, I'm going to turn my work. You will now repeat rows 2 through 5, ending with a row 5 repeat until the ear flap, measuring from the beanie to the current row, measures approximately 2 inches. So go ahead, repeat those rows as many times as you need to, and come back for further instruction. All right, I have ended with a row 5 repeat, and no, my ear flap is not 2 inches. I am just showing you guys for this tutorial, but we can now move on to row 6. You're going to chain 1, single crochet 2 together, and crisscross. You're then going to single crochet, crisscross 1 more time, and end with a single crochet 2 together. Turn your work, and for row 7, you're going to chain 1, single crochet 2 together, and single crochet across until 2 stitches remain. You're then going to end with a single crochet 2 together and turn your work. We're almost done. Row 8, you're going to chain 1 and single crochet 2 together. Now the next part might be a little tricky. It's just a front post double crochet around the next 2 posts. You are only going to be connecting the last part of this cable. So place a front post double crochet around the 3rd post from down below, because the single crochet 2 togethers at the beginning of this row have kind of eliminated those first 2 post stitches. You're then going to single crochet, and then front post double crochet around the next 2 posts again. This time you're going to be wrapping those front post double crochets around the first and second posts from down below, eliminating the third and fourth one. I hope that makes sense. You're then going to end this row by single crocheting 2 together. And this is what it should look like so far. Turn your work, and for row 9 you're going to chain 1, single crochet 2 together, single crochet in the next stitch, and chain 4. You're then going to skip 2 stitches, single crochet in the next stitch, and finish the row by single crocheting 2 together. And that's it. If this is your first ear flap, you're going to finish off and continue on to the second ear flap. If this is your second ear flap, do not finish off and fast forward to edging. The instructions say with the wrong side facing you and with the first ear flap on the right hand side, you're going to count over 15 stitches. You're then going to attach a new strand of yarn to that 15th stitch. Now you're going to simply rewind the video back to the first ear flap and repeat the instructions starting with row 1. Alrighty, so I have finished my second ear flap and I'm ready to add the edging all the way around the bottom of this beanie. To start, we're going to turn our work so the right side is facing us. We're then going to chain 1 and single crochet until you reach the chain space. You're then going to place 4 single crochets around the chain. Then single crochet in each row down the ear flap. When working into the side of the rows, I like to make sure that I'm placing my hook under at least 2 strands of yarn so it's a little less gappy. When you reach the base of the beanie, you're going to single crochet 2 together where the flap meets the beanie. That way we have a nice rounded edge and it's not so squared off. Single crochet across the beanie until the next ear flap. And again, we're going to single crochet 2 together where the ear flap meets the beanie. You're then going to single crochet in each row up the ear flap and repeat that one more time around. So go ahead and do that and I will meet you at the end of row 1. Coming up at the end of row 1 for edging, I am going to slip stitch into the first stitch to finish that row. It then says to finish off and continue to braids. Alrighty, last but not least, this beanie needs some braids. You are going to cut 18 strands of yarn that are 15 inches in length. So what I like to do is I like to measure 1, cut it at the proper length, and then simply grab it like so, pinching one end, pulling it through, and cutting it at the other end. That way all my strands are the same size and I don't have to sit there and keep measuring. So go ahead and do that and I will meet you back to show you how to attach them. Before we get started on the braids, go ahead and flip that beanie inside out and divide your strands in half. So put 9 strands together and put the other 9 strands to the side. You are then going to pinch the center point of your combined 9 strands, creating this little loop. You're then going to place the loop under and through the chain space on the ear flap. Place your thumb and your pointer finger through the loop and grab the tail. Before you pull it tight, make sure that the tail is even at the bottom. Once you do that, go ahead and tighten it and flip that beanie back to the right side. You are now going to divide the strands into 3 sections of 6. Once you do that, you're simply going to braid. I braid all the way down until there's about like an inch or 2 left, and then I'm going to knot it and trim the ends. You're going to do the same thing for the other side. And once you're finished braiding and trimming, you're simply going to weave in all your ends and wear. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if there's anything I could have done better, please let me know in the comments down below. I love constructive criticism. It helps me make better videos for you guys. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day and happy making.